name is Mel Brown and welcome to episode 58 of my crafting podcast. This is my weekly vlog about knitting, crochet, spinning, weaving, dyeing, anything else that I happen to be up to. I am an autistic woman living in the north of England with my husband, our 3 daughters and 3 cats. You can find me on social media in these places. If you're new, welcome. Hello. Right, I think that's all the intro stuff. Let's dive into it. Let's start with where are they now? So what's happened to the projects that you have already seen? The first one, as always, is the Advent blanket. So I'm using a square with this pattern, and I've just done 3 more, I think, since I last spoke to you. They're not particularly noteworthy. That one's I've done lots of that before, and that's the very last of the pink that I used for Lexi's squid that I showed you last week. And yeah, that's the last of it. I had loads of that yarn and I've used it all up. This is the one that I particularly wanted to show you. Do you remember last week I showed you a square I made from some yarn that Annie dyed, my littlest? Well, this is another one. It's the other end of it. There's still some left, plenty left actually. But I really love the way that the speckles work in this, because you can really see, it was, what did I say? It was about between 20 and 30 grams of ball that she dyed, wound one way and then wound the other. And I think it works really well. It's quite effective. I haven't run the ends in on those yet. I'm about the stage where I need to get my daughter to pick the next 9, and then that will be, I'll only have 2 more blocks of 9 left after that. So I think my hair's wild. I'm really sorry. I'm probably going to be fiddling with it for the whole episode, and I'm trying to make it look less wild, but it is wild. It needs a cut. In case you're watching this in the future, we're in lockdown. We have been for 7 weeks, so no hairdressers, no nail technician. Yeah. So okay, that's Advent blanket. That's work in progress number 1. Now the Starburst, which is the interlocking crochet squares I've been making, I have decided to stop calling that a work in progress because it isn't. I don't know what I'm going to do with the squares. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with the pattern. I just enjoy doing it every now and then, just a bit like with the Hope squares, the mosaic crochet. So, excuse me. It's really cold here today. The radiators have come on, which is brilliant because it's going to be dry, so I can actually get some washing dry either indoors or outdoors, one way or the other. Lockdown issues. Right, so so that's not a work in progress anymore. The Van Gogh. So that was the shawl. Now it was a bit halted last time I saw you because I had hand spun grey and orange, and I had run out of the orange. So I dyed some more fibre and then I spun it, but then I didn't like it. It was pink, too pink, not orange enough. So I re-dyed it, twice cooked chips thing, you know, dyed it in the fibre, then spun it and then dyed it in the yarn. And I was happy with it then, and then I started knitting with it. And then I thought, oh my goodness, I've got a bit of an apple crumble situation here, in apple crumble and custard. When you've got apple crumble, you take custard, and then you finish your apple crumble and you've still got some custard left. So you take some more apple crumble to use up the custard, and then custard goes and you've still got some apple crumble left. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a bit like that because I started to run out of the grey, and I thought, oh no. So I started spinning some more grey. But then actually, I hadn't quite realised how big it was, because when I finished the grey, I looked at it and thought, oh crikey, okay. So this is where it was up to. I put this little cute stitch marker in that my friend Amanda made for me. This is where it was up to when I spoke to you last. As you can see, it's already pretty big. And then I just added another 3 segments on, and it's actually plenty big enough. I measured it up against my boomerang I made with my first hand spun, and it is absolutely fine. So it's done. It's lovely. I do like the way the oranges go. I was trying to copy my friend Adriana's, but it didn't quite work out because it's gone lighter again at the end, but I don't mind. It is lovely. I'm not altogether sure now that it isn't for me, because it's not necessarily the quality of something you'd give away with it being hand spun, but also the back. Now I don't know what you think about the back. I don't like as I said before, I don't like this. I've just realised I'm being quiet again. Oh no! Oh, I need to speak more because this thing isn't working very well. I'm really sorry. I'm going to speak more loudly now. Okay, so I don't know what you think about the back. I don't like that. And it's made worse by the fact that I've run the ends in as I've knitted. So don't want to block it too much because it's already fairly big and it's already fairly lovely, but just to, I don't know, she'll do something with it. So that's the Van Gogh finished object. What's next? The Golden Willow. So that is my brioche. I haven't done anything. I haven't picked it up at all. I didn't have a solitary Sunday. I didn't feel like I needed it. And I've just been focused on other things, so I haven't made any progress on that. The socks for Lizzie. Now, I was making socks for Lizzie, wasn't I? Oh dear. Oh yeah. In the German yarn, I had a bit of a ramble about the sizing of it. Is that upside down? No, it's not. And yeah, it was these. Well, you can probably guess from the fact that there are no needles what happened. So I wasn't enjoying it. You know, I said it was really, really thick, and everybody seems to have made socks from it, which is fine, but it's really thick and it was hard on my hands and I wasn't enjoying it at all. So I just basically gave up on it. I ripped the needles out, and then I thought, what am I going to do with this yarn though? Because I'm not obviously not going to make socks with it. I'm not going to be able to make a shawl. I mean, look at the colour change on that. I'm not going to be able to make a shawl with that, am I? And then my husband said, well, you could just weave with it. I suddenly realised it would make perfect warp because it's beautiful colours and it would kind of define the colour palette, wouldn't it? Teals and pinks. It would define a colour palette for the whole project, but it would just be stripes and yeah, it'd be perfect as warp. So what a genius. So that's going into my weaving basket. Frogged. What a shame. And then the ribbed cowl. That was the have I still got the, yeah, I should have in here. No, I haven't. It's just bloody typical. I'm always losing things that I wanted to show you, aren't I? Have you noticed that? And I'll probably find it as I'm tidying up afterwards. So I had some fibre from Cat and Sparrow, Wensleydale and Silk in two beautiful colours, and I spun it and I made this lovely yarn, and then I was making a ribbed cowl with it. Have you spotted it yet? Yeah, I got it off the radiator about 10 minutes ago and my neck was cold, so I popped it on and I've taken it off since. Here it is. It's the ribbed cowl. So change of plan. I was doing it thin like this when I spoke to you last, and I said it was a bit too thin. I was gonna knit half of the yarn and then knit the other half and then sew them together or crochet them together. Well, when I got halfway through the yarn, I only had enough to wrap 1.5 times around my neck, so that wasn't going to work. So I just carried on knitting and knitted the whole thing, and it wraps 3 times. So there's the option to have it wrapped twice and have it loose, or yeah, the 3 times and a bit tighter. I like it. When I first put it on, I thought, oh gosh, that's a little tiny bit itchy, but actually it was just, I think that my neck's very sensitive, and I think the cats are doing something in the dining room. I think it was just, yeah, my neck's got used to it, and I don't really want to take it off. That's my join. Even though it's knitting, I did a crochet. It's just a slip stitch join because it's just sewing it together, really, isn't it? It's just with a crochet hook. So there it is. I like it. What do you think? Yeah, I like it. So that's another finished object. And you know what? I was really frustrated with myself because I thought, you know, I'd made that lovely merino hand spun in 3 different colours on my friend Andrea's wheel because both of mine were out of action. And I thought, oh, if I cast that on, I'll have 3 hand spun projects on the hook stroke needles at the same time. I thought that would be really exciting. By the time I came around to actually casting on the merino, I'd already finished the other 2. So that didn't, but I did have 2 hand spun knitted projects on at once, and that was good. So That's all the projects you've already seen. New whips on the block. So, you know, I was making small things for the library. So my local library, Harrogate Library, where I teach crochet and have a crochet club and everything, they want to yarn bomb when they open again. So they want to have 100 little things, crochet things, to just stash all over the place. People can grab them, take them home. So I had made a squid, and my eldest daughters had fallen in love with it, and they wanted another one. They wanted one themselves. So I think I had shown you the original and my eldest daughter's one. This is what I hadn't showed you, my middle daughter's one. So this is the pink yarn that I showed you, getting out of context here, aren't I? The pink yarn that I showed you in the advent calendar, advent blanket. So I've done all of those, and yeah, they're fun. They're really good fun. Sarah G, can you just look away for a second? I'll tell you when you can look back. Okay, you can look back. So I have just one more to make, and this is the yarn it's going to be made from. This is for the small one, my littlest daughter. We're having a party on Saturday to celebrate, bizarrely, one of our cats has their 4th birthday on Saturday. My husband and I have our 21st wedding anniversary on Sunday, and my brother has his birthday on Monday. So we're having a party here, just the 5 of us, obviously. We're in lockdown, and I'm going to give them all presents. So I'm giving them all a squid. So Annie's is yet to do, so I need to do that this week. So that's it for the squids. You saw the whale, but what you haven't seen is this, a mini pig. Now his eyes are a bit bigger than they should be, and they're not quite in the right place, but isn't he lovely? And his little tail. And what I loved about it was, with the exception of the tail, everything you just kind of made as one. So you started the snout, you made the ears and the feet and everything as you were going along, and then the tail was just a little chain added on the end, so that wasn't, there's no sewing on or anything, you build it on the back of the thing. Anyway, I've put the pattern up here, I guess. That's for the library again, and hopefully nobody's going to say, oh mum, I really want one. The snout is a lot longer than it appears in the pictures on the pattern. I don't know if I did something wrong there, but anyway, it doesn't matter, it's beautifully cute. So that's another one for the library. So for the library of all these things, there's actually only 3, a squid, a pig and a whale. So, but that's it, that's good. So I'm trying to do one every week, and then by the time we get back, the library opens again, I should have a good handful. And Andrea's made some as well. She's made some little books which are really, really cute. Maybe I'll get them today when I see her. Tomorrow when I see her, and maybe I'll show you them. If she does give them to me, I'll show you them. Okay. Oh, Luna has just arrived, our youngest cat. You've met her before. She's adorable. Although at 2:30 this morning, she decided it was cuddle time. So she walked up the bed purring and stuck her face in my face, which was very cute and adorable. But 2:30 in the morning. Do you want to come up? Do you want to come up? I don't think she's sure whether she wants to come up or not. She's not a big one for being held. I just think, isn't she beautiful? I think she just caught sight of herself. So that is not ideal. Okay. So the mini pig. Oh yeah, everybody's got these rainbows in their windows of it, and I felt like I wanted to have one. She's going to walk across the laptop in a minute and probably mess it all up, so I'll try and encourage her not to do that. So I wanted to have a rainbow, so I contacted Yarn etc., my local yarn shop, and she's not open, but she is doing sort of pick them up at the door orders. So I ordered some yarn, and I think I showed it to you last time. It was Sirdar Happiness. Yeah, I showed it to you. Oh, there's the thing I was looking for before. The Cat and Sparrow fibre tag that I made when I put it into my stash for 10 seconds before I found a pattern and started knitting with it. Right, so here's the little box of yarn I got. all a bit mashed up now. The pattern was this, a unity, rainbow unity thing. And you hold the yarn double. So each of these little balls, you've got to get the inside and the outside. Now that was really, really hard because normally you'd reach in and just pull it out, but it's too small to get your fingers in. So I had to ram a crochet hook in, and some of them it worked and some of them it didn't. It was a bit of a mess, to be honest. And so obviously, here it is, by the way. So what you do is you actually knit a circle, crochet a circle, and then you fold it over. Now, I was really lazy. I was upstairs in my bedroom making this, and it said, cut out a piece of cardboard to put in here to stiffen it. And I thought, oh, I'll be all right. I'm so lazy. So now it doesn't really, I suppose it kind of hangs right there. If you hold it up like that, it doesn't anymore. So I need to probably pin it to the wall like that so that it stands up. Anyway, I haven't done anything. I've made it for days and I haven't done anything with it. Largely just wanted to show it to you. But anyway, so I need to put that up in the window. I need to do an experiment on which window it looks best in. But the thing is, look how little I used of the purple. And obviously, that's like a 20 gram ball. And it's almost all there. But hardly any left of the red. So I thought, what about if I did a rainbow in reverse? Then it would use up kind of, you know, the opposite amounts, and it should use up more yarn. I should get another whole rainbow out of it. So I googled and had a look at pictures of rainbows the wrong way around, and actually looked fine. There's quite a few images online of that, so it looks fine. It won't, you know, it won't look exactly right, but probably most people wouldn't notice. Actually, I had to ask when I was talking to my daughter about it, so which one goes on top, and so I don't think anybody will notice. So I'm planning to make another one of these with that yarn. And yeah, get the most use out of it. And then, of course, the beautiful, vibrant colours, it will go into my weaving stash, as everything does eventually. Right, okay, so that was new whips on the block, mini pig, rainbow squids. Right, okay, there's one more. So I talked to you about that hand spun merino. I haven't even got a project bag. It's just in a plastic bag that I've put once I wind yarn on the ball winder, I tend to put it in a bag. I think you're always watching these rustly bags, aren't you? So here it is. It's in long stretches of those colours. It's Navajo plied, it's thick and it's soft and it's really bouncy and plump. And I love it. So I started a glacial KAL. It's basically a corner to corner. If you've done a C2C blanket, then it's basically that pattern with a little bit of a change to it. And then you stop increasing at this edge, and then of course that's going to sit like that, and then you keep going straight in a rectangle until it's about the right length or you run out of yarn, and then you just join it. So that's what's going on. I do like the way those colours are looking, and look, it almost looks like it's been planned, doesn't it, with stripes, but you know, obviously these bits tend to show that's not true. But anyway, I really like it. It's really soft. I wasn't sure what size of hook to use because I started off with something like a 6mm, and it is quite thick yarn, but it was too dense, and I don't really know how it's going to sit. I want it to kind of sit. It's not designed for hand spun, it's designed for chunky yarn, but I want it to kind of sit like that. So I wanted it to be a little bit drapier. So I went up to a 10mm actually. So yeah, that's where we're at, a 10mm hook. And I started that last night. As I say, I haven't even managed to get a project bag for it yet, or a project on Ravelry, but that started. So I'm still, I don't think I've had a day in a while that I haven't had a hand spun project on the needles or hook, which is quite exciting for me. So that's all the knitting and crochet. I'm going to pause while I go and get the stuff I need to show you for the next bit. So my wheel's been out of action. Both of my wheels have been out of action because of drive band issues. So last week I told you Andrea dropped over her wheel, so I'd been able to do some, but it doesn't have a very large orifice. So the sort of art yarn stuff I wanted to do, I wasn't able to do. So I was able to do this and the on the merino. I was able to do this, but I couldn't do any art yarn spinning. But Ruth from the Wheel U got a drive band to me by hook or by crook, and I got it fitted, and my wheel is now working again, so I'm delighted. Much as I love my Ashford and Andrea's wheel, I really want to do some art weaving, so spinning. So I had been practicing with thick and thin yarn, deliberately thick and thin yarn, rather than just the kind of random thick and thin we start with. And then I plied it, and I got this. So the fuzzy halo is the plied yarn, which is a sort of mohair thing. I tried some little beehives, and yeah, coils. That's a nice little bit there. Let's see if I can get that. Unfortunately, it wasn't very robust. The yarn, it's, you know, I'm right at the beginning of this journey really, and when I got it wet, I didn't thwack it or anything, I just got it wet, and it's a nice balanced yarn, but it didn't survive that very well, and some of the sort of I've already shown you that, but the structure of it wasn't robust enough, so it is a bit, it's not very robust, but actually for weaving it doesn't need to be, because as weft, everything else around it will pack in and glue it together. So if there are bits that are not very robust, it'll all hold together, and it's going to be hand washed anyway. Yeah, so there's bits of it that are absolutely gorgeous, and I can pull those to the front. I don't know how it's going to work, but I really enjoyed making it, and it's a journey. I'm definitely getting better. Now the washing machine's on the spin cycle. I hope you can't hear that. Okay, so that was really good fun. And then I had been desperate to try, you know, I signed up to a year's membership of Blueprint, which is also known as Craftsy. I think my American friends know it more as Craftsy. And they use both names interchangeably in the UK. So there was a course on spinning, and I had watched it. It's by JC Boggs Faulkner. She's also known as JC Boggs elsewhere, so I don't know if the Faulkner's a new edition. But anyway, I really liked her as a tutor. And she was doing this thing called extreme fibre, which was where you basically grab bits and pieces of fibre, leftovers, locks, silk, top, whatever you've got, and you just put it into a big kind of mishmash, and then you just spin it. So you're not worried about texture, you're not worried about, you know, making it smooth. I had a go at that, and it was my first time spinning locks, and it was really challenging for me, not in the sense that I have trouble not making a smooth yarn, because as you already know, I'm very happy with that. I just, handling it, it was challenging, but I enjoyed it, and by the end of it I was getting better, which is really important. So here's what I made. It is kind of in a skein, although yeah, it's not too unbalanced. So you can see the texture and some of the coloured locks. I mean, some of these bits that are hanging off. Oh, that's a knot. That's a knotted thingy. So yeah, some of the bits are over twisted a bit. Look, you see, that's so beautiful. And I don't know how that will sit in my weaving. And there's a bit of a lock hanging off there. I love that, so that can come out the front. Actually, it's not properly attached, so that will fall off. So yeah, it's a learning curve, and I am right at the beginning of it. And I love it. I absolutely love this colourway, the blues and the green. I have ordered quite a bit from Fibre Hut in the past, and whenever I order from Fibre Hut, you can ask for a sample or something, and you get these. Oh, there's a little bag down here, but I think I've dropped it on the floor. You get these tiny little bags with a business card in them, and it's a sample of something. And I've been using those for the mini bats that I made. And for this, so just find a couple that matching colours, put them in, then I've got various bits of dyed roving and some locks, and just kind of a mishmash. It's beautiful. I love it. I've got a long way to go, but I can't wait to put that into a weave. Yeah. Okay, so that is spinning. Okay, so weaving. I warped up again. The last one I showed you was meant to be a weft-based weave. So the idea is that the warp is very thin and it's fairly well spaced out. So really you don't see much of the warp. The star of the show is the weft, and you see all the weft. I don't know if I use these terms quite correctly. I was corrected on one of the Facebook groups with using the term warp-faced this week. So obviously I'm not using them completely correctly, but so this weave was the idea was that the warp was very thick and the weft was going to be very thin. So the warp was more than double knit. I'm just going to go and turn off that. Shut it off. Washing machines on the spin cycle sound a bit like something about to take off. So the idea was that the warp was at least kind of Aran thickness, moving toward chunky, and I did a pattern on it. So instead of just randomly 5 different, I did a pattern on it, and that's something I've seen sort of traditional weavers do a lot. And it wasn't totally symmetrical because, you know, but it wasn't far off. And then the idea was that all of the weft would be 4-ply, would be sock yarn. Unfortunately, that didn't work out because, first of all, because it was warp faced, the weft didn't show at all. So the only difference I had in sock, I mean, I don't have sock yarn with loads of texture in it because it's just sock yarn. So it was all the same texture, which was very, very boring. And because the warp was so strong, thick and coloured, even the difference in colour between the sock yarn didn't show. So there was no difference. It was basically boring as hell. So I scrapped that idea, got a new weft basket and just played with all my fun yarns. So the result is, I would say, definitely a warp heavy weave. I don't like it, to be honest, but that's okay. So let me show you. So if I can find the right side, well, it's not the end of the world, but so this is the stripe pattern. You can see immediately what I've done here. And then I've put in my favourite, you know, the travelling inlay, but something like this, you've got no idea what the weft is. All you see is the warp, and that's what I mean by warp faced. So then you can see some weft here, and I put some lumps and bumps of my hand spun yarn, and that's basically some slight texture in that. This is recycled plastic bottles yarn I spun from that. Sarah gave me that. And it's more of the same. There's not really much more to see. There's one little hairy bit which I think it's a bit out of place really, and then it's just mostly the same. So yeah, I don't like it very much. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe somebody I know will say, "Oh, I really like that. It's nice and soft, and it's a lovely length for a scarf." But yeah, not for me. Won't be doing that again. So that's that. But I tell you what, I told you last week that Sarah and I are starting keeping track of our stash in and stash out, and the weaves are certainly helping with that. So at the moment, as of today, with all the things that I've finished and whatever, since the 1st of May, I have my net stash acquisition is minus 889 grams. So taking all the stuff that's come into my stash and taking off it all the things I've finished, and not sort of finishing yarn, because we decided that when you spun some yarn, it comes out of your fibre stash and into your yarn stash, so it doesn't count. It doesn't count until it's actually a finished object. So taking my finished objects off of that, I've actually used nearly 900 grams this month of yarn and fibre out of my stash into finished objects, and it is only the 11th. So yeah, I'm on course to actually yeah, by the end of lockdown I will have run out of yarn. Not going to happen. My weaving stash is quite extensive though, and that's mostly the two big things that come out of that stash is the weaves. They're like 300 or 400 grams each, and that weaving stash is just a whole load of random stuff. At one point I'll show you all that. But my actual yarn stash is about 2/3 sock weight yarn, and then the rest of it's just everything else. I've got one skein of beautiful skein of lace weight and some DK and some chunky and whatever. But yeah, anyway, I'm rambling now. So I haven't done any dyeing at all. Something new. Now this is quite exciting. I've been telling you that I ordered some fibre. I got the fibre club thing from Cat and Sparrow, which I showed you last week. And this week I got the Spin City bat club. And I haven't opened it yet. I've waited to open it with you. So this is the inspiration. It's hummingbird. So, and those colours are absolutely beautiful. It's come in this lovely pink bag. So yeah, it's all still sellotaped up. I haven't opened it, so I'm really, really excited to open it here. This tissue paper is lovely, but once you've taken the sellotape off, it never works again to wrap anything up. So, okay. I can see some gorgeous pink. Okay, you can get to it before I do. Wow. Oh, wow. That is absolutely gorgeous. And look at this. Oh, I don't know if you're able to see how beautiful that's obviously a silky bit. There's some neps or whatever you call them, lumps and bumps, and oh, that is amazing. Absolutely love it. So that's from Louise at Spin City. I decided not to do an ongoing thing with Spin City. At the moment, I just don't think, I think I've got quite a lot of fibre and I don't really want to be bringing fibre into the house every month. But having seen this, I'm tempted. By the way, this 100 grams of fibre is included in my 889, by the way. So that is amazing. Look at that pink. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to have a play with that. And it's wrapped up in a little sequined. Oh, that's so pretty. Nice one, Louise. That is absolutely beautiful. Right, I'm really happy with that. Okay, so that's the only thing that's something new. The next thing is the giveaway. So this is for the hashtag lockdown rainbow socks. Lots of people have taken part, and the lockdown rules are changing slightly tomorrow. Not a huge amount, but people who've been at home can now go back to work, construction workers and whatever. And there's a few subtle changes. So I've decided this is the time to end the lockdown, Cal. So, and also because this beautiful thing is burning a hole in my box, as it were. So it's so beautiful, isn't it? This is from Gemma B Makes, my favourite podcaster, and she has made this beautiful bag and this lovely set of stitch markers on a thingy bob. Is that better? And also in the prize is the third skein of that lovely extra fine merino with cashmere from yarnundyed.net. Lovely, lovely company who provide fantastic yarn for you to dye at home. So they are, nobody sponsors me, but in case you didn't already know, the yarnundyed.net accidentally sent me a pack of 5 of something I only ordered 1 and I only got charged for 1. I said I'd send it back and they said keep it, we've got enough things to worry about, which was so generous and so lovely. So I have been trying since then to give all these skeins away. So this is the third one. So the prize for the KAL is the bag, the stitch markers and the skein of yarn, and you can either have it bare so that you can dye it yourself to, you know, hashtag dye one skein. All you need is a bit of food colouring and some vinegar, or you can entrust me with it and I will dye it for you to the colours that you suggest, not to the technique that you suggest because I'm not that good. So that's the prize and I'm going to draw that tomorrow, so because the rules change tomorrow. So if you have started a project for the lockdown, then please tag it, make sure it is tagged, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto Instagram and look at the tag and make a list of everybody who has started a lockdown rainbow socks project. I've also got some other sources, people on the Facebook group, sorry, the Ravelry group, and on a couple of other places on Ravelry. I'll pick up people from there, but anybody who has used the lockdown hashtag and started a project, so I can see if they've started a project, you don't need to have finished it, will go into the draw. I'll draw it on Wednesday, and I will contact, if I have contact details for them, I will contact whoever it is and ask them if they want that skein dyed or not. So hopefully by the time I see you again, I will have the skein dyed if it's going to be dyed, so that you can have a look at that. So that's that. Get your hashtag on and make sure you're in the draw. I'll post worldwide, I'm not fussy. Okay, right, so that's the giveaway. Plans. So if you've been watching for a while, you'll know that I'm a big fan of the crochet project. That is Kat Golding and Joanne Scrace, and they do some awesome, very innovative crochet patterns. And they've decided to do an MKAL inspired by the lockdown, and it's fun already because they're calling it While We Waited. It starts in June, so we've got plenty of time to get things together. And they've partnered up with a yarn dyer, and they've got some kits. I don't tend to buy kits because I've got lots of stash, and I love to use up my stash. It's to shop from stash. But the 3 colourways I have seen, one of them is called Baking Banana Bread. And it's basically the things that we're doing so much more of in lockdown. It's really funny. I can't remember what the others are. If I can find them, I'll put them up here. So I'm not going to get the kit, but I'm definitely going to do the mystery crochet along, and that starts in June. So really, really excited about that. And there's something else. I have been interested in double knitting for a while. Now, if you're not familiar with that term, I'm not talking about the yarn weight, as in double knitting yarn. I'm talking about the technique of double knitting, where you knit 2 pieces of fabric together on your needles, the front and the back piece, they're separate. And it's a really interesting technique. I have been interested in it for a while and thought about I'd like to try it. And then my friend Kathy from New England said, I'm interested in this double knitting thing, and she sent me a pattern which is bipolar, and I really like it. It's a KAL, so it's not too big a project, and it looks really fun. And on Blueprint at Craftsy there is actually a course on that, so on double knitting, so I watched that, and the designer of the KAL actually has a Craftsy course which includes talking through how to do the KAL. So that's a great thing for me because I can just access that. So it's bipolar, it's Alistair somebody, so we're going to start that. We haven't got plans as to when, but there are a few other people who are interested, so I'm not going to call it a KAL at the moment, but if anybody else is interested in doing it, then let me know, and we'll start a hashtag for it. But actually, let's do it anyway. I'll think of a hashtag and put it up here. So if you do want to take part, just let me know, and it'll be a bit of fun. Maybe I'll better get rid of that 4th skein of yarn. Anyway, if there's not enough people who are doing it, it doesn't matter. We won't worry about making it a KAL. Anyway, so I had to go stash diving, and I found 2 beautiful skeins of yarn from Cat and Sparrow, but they just didn't have enough contrast between them, and they're pretty much the only 2 skeins of DK that I had. It's actually in double knit, which is ironic, isn't it, that I had that would have been suitable, but they weren't enough contrast. So I've contacted Yarn Etc. again, and I'm picking up some beautiful skeins on tomorrow. As I'm going out to the butcher's, I'm doing all these other things, just stop by the outside of the shop and pick up my yarn. So that is Erica Knight, that's who the yarn is that I'm getting. So I'm not exactly sure when we're starting that, but it will be in the next week or 2, I would think. Yes. Also, the socks, the socks for Lizzie that I frogged. Well, I haven't frogged, I've just kind of taken the needles out. I wanted to start another pair for her. Now, you know I was talking about Gemma B makes his slip stitch pattern. I wanted to try that, but I knew that the yarn wasn't going to work. So what I did was I wound St. Clair Nettleship yarn. Now this one was a custom colourway that she made for my last retreat. And let me just get you out of all of it. It's in a bag as always, but slightly scruffy ball as always. So it's a chocolate brown, a light teal and a hot pink. And it's in stripes. It's self-striping, which is Claire's speciality in my experience. So that is all queued up and ready to go, and I'm going to cast those on, and I'm going to do 2 at a time, and I'm going to do the slip stitch pattern. So you basically, as soon as you start the new colour, you knit 2, slip 2, and then the second round, when you get around to the second round, you slip just one of those. So it's very much like the Geek Socks, but just a slightly different version, and it just looks amazing. If you haven't seen it already, it's a wonderful project. I'll put a link to her project in the show notes. So, as if she's put it on Ravelry, because she's not terribly, well, this is not good at, but she doesn't tend to put projects on Ravelry. Anyway, I'll try if I can. So I want to start those. I've been planning to start those for ages, but I just keep not getting around with it. You know, I go through this phase where I've got, say, 6 projects, and I just get this finishing party, and I just want to finish everything. And I did. I got down to 2 works in progress yesterday. So the brioche and the Advent KAL. That's all I had. So I started when I started this one. Is that just 3 works in progress I've got? Is that really what's happening? Yeah, I've got 3. So I only had 2. 1 crochet and 1 knitting. Both fairly long-term ones actually, until I started that. So yeah, I definitely got in a finishing party, and I had planned to cast on 2 things, but I just didn't because I was just too busy finishing other things. So I'm out of finishing mode now. I'm not going to finish the Advent blanket this week, and I'm not going to finish the brioche scarf this week either. So I'm just going to be calm and start a few new things. Carry on with my spinning. I also ordered from Adelaide Walker, who's our local kind of Ashford dealer. I ordered a replacement drive band, but this is slightly different. It doesn't come fully done. You have to burn it together. So I haven't quite done that yet. I need to do that tonight, so that I'll get my Ashford back up and running. So for the standard regular knitting, regular gauge, I can use my Ashford, and then for the art yarn, I can use my Magicraft. Something interesting happened about the Wheel U as well. When they sent the drive band, they put in a flyer for a retreat. Now, for those of you who know, I'm autistic. I used to run retreats, and they killed me. They just absolutely did for me completely. It took me ages to recover from each one. But that's running a retreat. You can't be on retreat when you're running a retreat. This is a spinning retreat, and I booked a place. I know, it's absolutely mad. It's in October, and of course we don't even know if it'll be able to go ahead, but it just looks so amazing. It's in a great big old stately home, and I'm really excited. Anyway, that's that. So it's not been a great 24 hours for me, so going on to the personal stuff now. I have mentioned that I have a potentially autoimmune, probably more auto-inflammatory condition, and I have been trying to find dietary solutions for it, and I've been on keto, which is very, very low carb, for 3 months now, and it's been pretty good. But there was something else. I just knew that I needed to do something more. There's something more I needed to cut out, and there's this thing called the autoimmune protocol, which is a diet where you cut out all possible triggers, and then you slowly reintroduce them. Now, I've looked at that, and that would basically take all the pleasure out of my life, apart from crafting, all the pleasure out of my eating, because it would take out dairy, eggs, a lot of the veg that I like, spices and everything. And you need to follow that for 2 to 4 months and then start reintroducing. I just don't think I'm capable of doing that. So I decided to do something horribly unscientific and take the triggers one at a time and just overdose on them, figuring that if they're a trigger that are causing a little bit of issue for me now, if I eat a lot of them, then they're going to cause a big issue. And my experiment was horribly successful. I started off with dairy, which is the hardest thing for me to contemplate cutting out because I love cheese and cream cheese and yogurt, and I overdosed on it yesterday. So I don't eat breakfast. So at lunch I had quite a lot of cheese, and I had cream cheese and cream with some pud, and by the end of dinner, which is about 6:30, I had a horrible flare in my condition, and I don't want to go into details of what that entails because it's not pleasant, but it was awful. And it was not only the fact that I need to deal with the pain and the discomfort and the unpleasant issues of this flare, but I also have to take on board the fact that it is almost certain that dairy is a trigger for my condition, which means if I want my condition to go into remission, then I will need to cut out dairy. And that is absolutely devastating to me. I've already cut out gluten and wheat. Well, wheat and gluten, because obviously you can't eat wheat without gluten. All grains, all stuff like that, all sugar. And to now cut out dairy as well is absolutely devastating. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to steer clear of dairy for a few days just to help everything calm down, and then I need to work out what I'm going to do. So it's been a bit of a tricky 24 hours for me, but I will come up with a strategy and I will come out fighting in another day or so. The lockdown is being eased tomorrow, not to any great degree. The only thing that really affects me is that we can leave the house as often as we want for exercise. And I never thought I would be so excited by that, but I can actually go in the morning, I can get up, if it's sunny, and I can get up and go out on my own. I can be out of the house on my own, or be somewhere on my own for the first time in a very long time. And that will be absolutely amazing. I have a step goal of 7,000. I said last week it was started at 6 and it was meant to go up to 10, but because of lockdown it couldn't. I might consider starting to put that up again, because I can go out for a walk on my own down to the river or whatever, and then a walk with the family later. But up till now, the last 6-7 weeks, I haven't been able to do that. If I want to go out with the family and I want to encourage the family to walk, then I can only do one walk. So that's good. Also, we can go to other places to walk, so it's possible that the water board will open the reservoir car parks. It's quite possible they won't, because the walkways are fairly narrow, so being able to stay 2 meters apart from people whilst on the walkway might be quite tricky, so they might take the decision not to open them, and I would understand that. But if they don't, I am allowed now to drive to the reservoir and walk to the reservoir. Oh, it would just be so amazing. So I'm hoping that that will happen. There aren't really any other major changes for us, as my husband already works from home and I'm not working at all. So that's really the main changes. My daughter could go see her girlfriend, but she wouldn't be able to go within 2 meters of her, and I just don't think that would work. And likewise with the girl's friends, so I don't know. There's no other real changes for us. So yeah, it is what it is. So I think that's more or less it for today. I will do the draw tomorrow and announce on Instagram, and then if whoever's won can let me know if they want it dyed or not. I think that's about it. Okay, so happy crafting. I will see you about this time next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.